Hey, good morning, and Adat Shalom Synagogue. My original plan for today is that I would just stand here and we would cry together for 20 minutes. It has just been so much. The hostages aren't home. The war isn't over. I mean, how many of you had family in bomb shelters instead of preparing for Yontif? Yeah, your uncle's in the bomb shelter. How many people hear phrases like that? I understand there's an election coming up in America soon. But that's not really a problem, is it? Yeah, denial is beautiful. There is so much going on, whether it's college campuses, feeling under siege here, thinking about what our loved ones are going through. People tell me that they're starting to suffer from PTSD. And you're not. Because the P in PTSD stands for post. We just have TSD. There is so much that is going on, and it's creating a lot of divisiveness. I mean, I wonder how many people here are worried about lunch and dinner with family and friends, because there's always that one person who just can't stay quiet for 2 minutes about what is wrong and why you're wrong. By the way, you might be that guy. But it's the first time that people have asked me to keep services longer. And we'll just go home and we'll eat standing up, and then we'll be done. And that makes me sad. I know there's a lot in the outside world to be concerned about. I'm not naive, and the problems are real, and you know them too. I don't need to tell you about them. What I want to focus on today is really us, our people, because if we don't find a way to function as one people, to be united, we're going to disappear from history again. We were irrelevant to the world for 2,000 years except as an idea, except as an object of scorn. Tisha B'Av reminds us that if we can't stand together, we're going to be sitting Shiva together instead. If we don't find a way to somehow be united, we are going to be irrelevant. And the world needs us. Whether it wants us is another story. But the world needs us. But if we can't find a way to stand together, we are going to disappear. Being one people doesn't mean we agree on how to do everything or that we have the same ideas and opinions. That's what a cult is, when everyone agrees. We, in fact, might be the most diverse people on the planet, whether culturally, ethnically, racially, linguistically, and liturgically. And I was trying to find a word culinarily, but apparently it's not a word. But we like lots of different food also, and I know some of you have been fighting over the sweet gefilte fish versus the peppery gefilte. We can get through this. Maimonides said that to be a people is to be of one body, meaning if one part hurts, it all hurts. You can't just say, well, it's just my hand that hurts, so everything else is okay. It's not just that one part of our people hurt, so it's okay. If any of us hurt, we all hurt. We are one body and one soul. It means we remember that every Jewish soul that there would ever be, whether born or choosing to be part of the Jewish people, and even those who feel disconnected and alienated now, we all stood at Sinai together. And we all made a vow that we will see every person in God's image and that we will be God's partner in making the world better. And it is so hard, and it is so challenging, and it is so worth it. And it is why we are still here. Peoples who gave up on their deepest values have disappeared from the world, and we are still here. I wrote a lot of this out because it's very emotional for me. I like being a rabbi. I know that sounds funny, like that's all you've been doing the last 35 years. I like being a rabbi. But I didn't become a rabbi because I was going to like it. I became a rabbi because I wanted to help save the Jewish people. And that's it. And that's why I show up every day. Again, I like it, and I like it here, and I like all of you. Yeah. But I made a vow that I was going to help keep the Jewish people going, and I found a place where people want that as well. And even though it's so difficult, I have so much hope and I have so much optimism for us. We have gone through so much, but we're still here. And I think of the phrase, Hinei ma tov u'ma-na'im, shevet achim gam yachad, which it's, how beautiful, how wonderful it is to be together. But the gam yachad means, and we know that we are together. We're not just occupying the same space today. We're occupying the same places in our heart. And it's hard because this is a very stressful, very difficult time. I cannot remember a more challenging time in my lifetime. I know there have been more difficult times in Jewish history, but it's hard. There's a lot of anxiety, and we don't know what to do. And I'm going to share a couple of ideas. But the most important thing is I want to remind all of us how beautiful it is to be part of this extraordinary privilege. Being part of the Jewish people is an unbelievable privilege, an unbelievable opportunity, not just in the good times, but in the bad times as well. Every single day that we are part of this people means we can make things better. We are built for this. I know there are days we wake up and the world seems like it's spinning in the opposite direction. You know what? And maybe it is. And that's what we're going to do that day. We are built for getting through this. We are made of all peoples. When we say the blessing for the Aliyah, we say, Asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim. It's not that we were chosen as a people above other peoples. It means that we are created from all other peoples. There is not a kind of person on the planet who is not somehow represented as part of the Jewish people. We are a microcosm of humanity, and I think we can model how to get along even when we don't agree with each other. Arguing is fine. Arguing means that you share your values, your opinions, your feelings, you listen deeply to each other, and you don't demonize those who feel and think differently. It bothers me when people call other people self-hating Jews, or even worse, say that that person isn't really part of the Jewish people anymore. We're all part of the people. Even the person you disagree with most on earth, still part of the people. Still have to listen. Because maybe the person who bothers you the most is the one who actually is the one you need to hear. They're sharing a truth maybe that hurts. Now, there are people I disagree with a lot, and usually on the extremes. Everyone has a neshama. Everyone has a soul. And to demonize that soul, I think, is where we start disappearing again. When we make people less than, we make ourselves less than as well. Fighting is about winning an argument at any cost, and usually without listening. Judaism has a tradition of arguing, of allowing your voice to be heard, but making sure the other person is heard as well. And we're really created to need each other. You cannot be Jewish by yourself. Right? That's the idea of minyan. We don't get a minyan together to say certain prayers. We say certain prayers to get the community together. Right? The Kaddish is just so you have a community, so someone listens to you, someone responds to you. And we need each other. No one is a waste of time. No one is not essential. There are people in your lives who are taking positions in politics which are very frustrating to you and very, maybe disappointing. I raised this person to do this, and now they're doing that. For those of you who are, let's say, around my age-ish, somewhere between 18 and 90, did you ever express an opinion that someone in your family didn't agree with? Anyone? If you never did that, you can go now because you're fine. People evolve over time. And if you push them away now, you're pushing them away for good. I'm not saying you have to like the idea. I'm not saying you have to like the opinion. You don't have to agree. And I'm talking about people on the left and the right. Y'all are more similar than you think. And I know I'm going to hear that later. Don't push the people you say you love away from you, whether it's in your family or in the community. I love the fact that we have multiple denominations. I've been very lucky. I've been mostly serving as a conservative rabbi, but I actually was a guest rabbi in a Reformed temple for a year with Cantor Steve Dubov of blessed memory. And actually, I had such a positive experience with him, it made me want to come back to congregational life. I had been in education for a number of years, but that experience at Congregation Chai Olam, I loved it. I was the Kiddush Club Rabbi of the Young Israel of Southfield. 8 years. I was allowed every week to give a 37-second Devar Torah. I got over it. But the conservative movement, of course, has been my home base, but I really think every group has so much to offer. Because we're all confronting the same set of issues. How do we survive as a people? How do we keep going? How do we make a difference in the world? And this year, it just feels different. It's been shattering this past year. I am so glad you're here. Just being here, Jews in the future will say, isn't it amazing that despite everything that was going on, the Jewish people showed up. They showed up for each other. Just being a part of the community means that we win. People have been trying to make us disappear for 3,000 years, and every day we show up is another day that they don't win. And I think there's a power in that. So even if you say to yourself, I only come occasionally, I only do this or that occasionally, I never want to hear the phrase that someone's a bad Jew. You can't be a bad Jew. You might be a jerk. No, we're good. But any day, any time you show up in any way for our people, it's beautiful. And you should feel good about that. We're like we're in the season of guilt. Right? Oh, I didn't do this. I feel terrible about that. And I am ordering you to feel good about yourself. Because what we're doing, we can't solve the problems. We can't fix the world. But when we show up for each other, it strengthens our collective soul in such a beautiful way. You know, one song that I've been listening to more often than any other is Am Yisrael Chai. And I looked up the origins of Am Yisrael Chai, just the phrase, and I assumed that it was like biblical or Talmudic. Now, I've read a lot of the Talmud, some of it. Got most of the Bible pretty covered. But it turns out the phrase was first used at the Second World Jewish Conference in 1933 that was scheduled to have a boycott against Hitler. And Rabbi Stephen Samuel Wise ended the address. We are prepared to defend ourselves against the will of Hitler's Germany to destroy. We must defend ourselves because we are a people which lives and wishes to live. The last word that I wish to speak to you is this: our people lives. Am Yisrael Chai. And they said that in 1933. The first time it appears in a Jewish songbook is in 1938. And April 20th of 1945, 5 days after Bergen-Belsen was liberated, Rabbi Leslie Hardman led a program, and he proclaimed, after they all sang Hatikva, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of the children of Israel still live. Again, 5 days after Bergen-Belsen was liberated, they were singing Am Yisrael Chai. That's who we are. And that song, of course, becomes very famous in the Soviet Jewry movement. Am Yisrael Chai is what they sang every day to bring our people out. And there's been a new version that was written by Eyal Golan, which I strongly recommend listening to. He writes, "The sun will shine soon. We will know better days than these. The heart fights with the worries. Everyone will return home. We wish to know good news, because the eternal people never fear, even when it's hard to see. As long as we are all together, if we all remember to be united, then Am Yisrael Chai." And that is who we are. The word Chai doesn't mean that people live. Chai is in the command form also of the verb. Live. Jewish people always remember that you need to live. And this is who we are. In the worst of times, our motto has been Am Yisrael Chai, Bocher B'chaim, to always choose life. When you think of what we've been through as a people, we should have voluntarily disappeared. We could have said, Dayenu, we've had enough. But instead, we have said, Dayenu, we are enough. And I want you to feel that even if you're feeling anxious, even if you're feeling helpless, even if you're feeling like you don't know what to do, you're in good company. It's really hard. But we are here together. We have so many gifts to offer the world, but we can't offer them until we make sure that we actually love each other, that we see ourselves as achad, that we are one people, one beautiful, glorious, messy, difficult, challenging, extraordinary people. And you get to be a part of it. Very few people who've ever lived get to be a part of this. And even in the worst moments, I want you to remember this. And when I think of Hirsch's mother, you know who Hirsch is. At his funeral, she said, Od lo avda tikvatenu, from Hatikva. Even though we have lost so much, we have not lost hope. In the darkest moment of her life personally, in one of the darkest moments in our people's history, she said, Od lo avda tikvatenu. We will never, ever lose hope. So we have so many gifts. Don't waste them on anger. Don't waste them on hate. Just bring the best of who you are. You have something to give. You have something to offer that's essential. We're not perfect, and there are flaws and challenges, but we've been around for thousands of years because we try to do the right thing for the right reason. Natan Sharansky said, there is no power in the world that can stand against us when we feel part of our history, part of our people, and part of this historic struggle. So I truly believe there has never been a better time to be part of the Jewish people. There's never been more opportunities to do good in the world. The world has never needed us more. So never lose hope, never give up. Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael.